I'm with Jagbir, lecturer in Sikh studies at the University of Birmingham. Jagbir, what is the impact on the Sikh community of the coronavirus, both in terms of practice, but also in terms of community itself?
One of the big major events that was coming up for us was Vaisakhi. So that's a celebration that we have in April, around about the 13th and the 14th. And we have these street processions, Nagar Kirtans. And all of those had to be cancelled as a result of COVID-19. And I think the impact has been, like for all other faith communities, is that we've had to think about our commemorations, celebrations, how we do those now when our institutions, our gurdwaras are not open. And what was interesting for Sikhs, and I suppose with reference to the Christian community, Jewish community, and with reference to Ramadan coming up, is that a lot of us and the organizations of the Gurdwaras have gone online. So we're using social media to get to create that sense of community, to provide that religious nurturing and the kind of the spiritual aspect of the faith. So that's been very strong, and that's been very visible on the social media sites and everything. It's also, I think, created a sense of a wider community kind of feeling, in the sense that when you're on these Zoom sites, or when you're on Facebook and you're seeing all the other people connecting, you feel part of that bigger community. And one of the things that for Sikhs is that we like that congregational worship, and that is part of our kind of community focus. The Sad Sangat, which is imperative for us. And even though we're not in the physical space, along with that, being on that social space, we're able to foster that community and participate in the religious kind of rituals and everything. And I think, for example, for myself with the Vaisakhi celebrations, normally I would go to the Gurdwara in the morning and then I would participate in a Nagar Kirtan. We couldn't do that. So you're kind of remembering what you did in the past, looking at social media, photos that people have posted. One of the things that in the West Midlands that they did was a virtual Vaisakhi West Midlands, where people were posting on social media pictures of them in their saffron coloured clothes and blue and everything. So there was a lot of that kind of, the celebration was still happening, but it was in a different format. And then I participated in the religious kind of activity by participating in prayers that were being had on social media, well, actually they were on Sikh TV channels, Sangat TV, for example, participated in that. So that religious element was still very present for us. So that was very important.
Was there much resistance when it came to the closing of the Gurdwaras? I know in one or two communities there was a really interesting generational tension between the older generation and the younger generation, between the religious leaders, if you like, and the community leaders. Was that something that was going on in the Sikh community as well?
I think there was an element of that. I think the Gurdwaras are such an important space for us as a community to come together. And I think and particularly for the elderly. So there was that kind of resistance. And what was clear was that the message was not getting through to the elders what the whole impact of COVID was, particularly for those over the age of 60 and 70. So it was essential to kind of then build up that trust and engagement and get our religious institutions to kind of understand what the implications were. And then get, like, say, people of faith coming on TV channels, particularly the Sikh TV channels, which the elders would be watching, to try and disseminate the information to the community, why it was important that they needed to shut down the Gurdwaras, what was the issues around COVID and everything, and how they would provide that spiritual presence still for them in a different way.
And was that an issue of language, or was it one of culture?
I think it's both. Language, some of the elders would not be fluent in English, so they might not understand what they're hearing on, say, British TV channels and everything. But also culturally and religiously, I think, because for the elders, normally now those who are retired, there's a kind of a sense of daily routine of going to the gurdwara, right? It's a space where they could go to the gurdwara, listen to the prayers, do a little bit of that selfless service, prepare food in the kitchen, for example, and then kind of fill their day with that kind of activity. And then to have that all of a sudden taken away from you. And some of these elders are very independent, and I could tell you that from my parents' experience. But then having that taken away from you, that space where you could go have that conversation and chat with people, was hard, I think, for the elders.
I can understand that. I wonder whether one of the other challenges, and I'm now thinking about the church as well as the gurdwara, which is the centrality of the building, which, like for you, there's a sort of, it's a centerpiece. It's not just a place of worship, it's a place of community. It's where the food's made, to support particularly the poor. And so on. So what's the impact of that? Is it changing? Is it theological? Is there something developing that will continue afterwards? Is there a kind of, is it moving into, well, it is moving into the home. Is that having an impact? I just wonder if you can unpack that for us as far as Sikhs are concerned.
I suppose those of us of faith and who have a strong belief system, we have that the kind of the religious presence within the house. We kind of do our prayers at home. We'll have some of the prayers being on radio or on TV, for example. We might have the Guru Granth Sahib at home. So there's more of a kind of that reflection. So for example, my parents, my mother has the Guru Granth Sahib at home, so she can do her prayers and as if she's at the Gurdwara. The importance of the Gurdwara is that that's the house of the Guru. That's where our eternal Guru is. But those of us who are fortunate to have the Guru Granth Sahib at home will be able to kind of recite and pray at home and follow through those religious practices and rituals. And it's one of those things. It's I think it's given people the opportunity to come together as family. So, like, for example, my father probably would never have participated in the reading of the Guru Granth Sahib at home. But all of a sudden now, because of the time, the factor of time, that he's got nothing else to do, he'll sit with my mother and he will listen and everything. So, and sometimes he'll have the WhatsApp on, and so that we might not be there, but we can listen in and everything. So there's that kind of family connection, but also that personal relationship being developed, which is so strong within the Sikh faith with your personal guru. But it's being enhanced a lot more by being isolated. I think that's very important.
My final question will be, will this continue after some kind of normality returns? We know it's going to be stage by stage, but this sort of sense of bringing the religion into the home, the readings, the prayers in the home, the connection virtually, deepening the family structure and perhaps changing even widening what the family means, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it will be important and it will continue because it was happening anyway before COVID, but not as strongly as it is now. I think the kind of the personal relationship that we develop with our guru and also our relationship with our faith will be enhanced. And it's very important to recognize here the gender dimension. It's the women and the mothers within the families who are kind of pushing this. Well, that's my personal feeling, just from my experiences. One of the important things about the Sikh faith is that there is gender equality. So men and women are allowed to read from the Guru Granth Sahib and participate in all religious ceremonies. In the kind of external sphere, I say outside within gurdwaras, etc., you normally see that kind of male presence a lot more than the female presence. And women, normally you'll get to see them in terms of serving langar, preparing the langar, the food and everything. But within the context of now that we are confined to our home spaces and everything, I think the kind of teaching, disseminating of or reciting of prayers, etc., while an equal responsibility, will probably be more prevalent with reference to women doing it more, in the sense that they are imparting that knowledge, particularly to the younger generation. I suppose, like, for example, grandmothers doing the prayers with the, young grandchildren, or women participating in reading from the Guru Granth Sahib if they have that, if they have the Guru at home. So there is that kind of gender dimension. I think that will be more visible within the home context. But I think we will still have that community connection that we need, and we will still, once this is over, I can just imagine the elders going to the gurdwara, because that community feeling, that physical presence of being in the company of others, just being able to talk and have that conversation, but also be there to do that selfless service, and serve others, is such an integral part of the faith that will be so welcomed by them, and by the younger generation, who actually, one thing I'd just like to kind of highlight is, they've taken this situation of COVID and they've kind of are living the actual values of the Sikh faith in the terms of the selfless service, going out and serving the vulnerable within our own community, but also outside of the community. So there's that kind of recognition of the whole humanity and the need to serve the whole of humanity. And I suppose with COVID, one of the most important things is that it doesn't discriminate on the basis of race, gender, religion, etc. And it's shown us that we're all one at the end of the day with what's happening and everything. So the younger generation have come to the fore in terms of how they are utilising the gurdwara space, i.e. to prepare food for those who are vulnerable, but also in terms of going out and doing that selfless service. So that's very important.
Jagbir, thank you very much.